Hello, and welcome to our first in a new series of Connected Careers podcasts from SYSTRA, focusing on our fabulous degree apprentices. I'm your host, Morgan Coates. I'm a graduate engineer, and I work to make sure that fabulous studios like this one in Birmingham keep their lights on whilst we're constructing HS2. We're passionate about promoting all career pathways, and degree apprenticeships provide an excellent way to develop professional skills whilst learning on the job. Today, I'm joined with Sahina Sameerah. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Hi.
To share your apprenticeship journey with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start off with what degree are you working on and what team are you in?
Right, so I'm a level 6 apprentice. I'm currently on the structures team working as a technician. At university, I'm studying civil and infrastructure engineering, and I'm at the University of Warwick. Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. As a Coventry graduate, I have to disagree with your choice of university, but that's okay. I guess we should start with, you did your A-levels.
Yeah.
Presumably you did something like, was it maths?
Yeah, maths, physics? Chemistry, physics.
Same as me.
Yeah.
Perfect, nice. Perfect. And you're at that kind of crossroads. It's really stressful, I think, for a lot of people. I know I was having like a crisis at the time around choosing, was it apprentices? Is it a degree? Do I even want to do civil engineering? Like all those decisions all at once. How did you decide that you wanted to start with an apprenticeship?
So my one was a bit different. I only decided in the last year of sixth form that I wanted to do an apprenticeship. Before I was just hell bent on going to university because A, I didn't know much about apprenticeships, and B, the stuff that I did know sort of always presented them as the lesser option. I think I was under that impression that it was not as good as a university degree, but then it was actually by chance that I ran into one of my maths teachers outside of lesson time, and he asked me and my friends, are any of you doing an apprenticeship? And we were like, oh no, like we're all going to university. And he was like, why not? And I actually thought to myself, like, why am I not doing an apprenticeship? And he was sort of explaining to us the benefits, and like you can learn and earn at the same time while getting industry experience, and you can break into the industry easier. And then I went home, researched apprenticeships, found that I should do a degree apprenticeship because it was just the advantages like outweighed the disadvantages for me. So that's why I decided to go down the apprenticeship route.
There are obviously massive financial advantages.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think anyone can disagree with that, but getting into an apprenticeship it's not the easy option is it? I mean, there's about 1.8 million students in UK universities, but each year there's only about 48,000 students taken on to do higher degree apprentices. So that's apprenticeships that will get you a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. So it was
not easy, no.
It's not easy. It's really competitive. How did you kind of give yourself that advantage? What did you do to prepare yourself for that application process?
I think for me, I set aside time every week. It was literally every week to sit down and do apprenticeship applications throughout my time at sixth form, because I only sort of decided towards like the start of year 13 that I wanted to do an apprenticeship. It was very difficult because a lot of the application processes weren't just you upload a CV. It was very, like a lot of them were assessments, a lot of them were actual assessment centres, and it was just a lot, and dealing with a bunch of applications at the same time as juggling my A-level revision wasn't easy. But I knew that I wanted to do an apprenticeship, so I think it was that drive that sort of allowed me to sit down and work on the applications, but also just not give up. I think that's the main thing, because I applied to, I think it was 7, and I got 2 offers, and but it is very difficult. But at the end of the day, it's such a great thing to be able to do an apprenticeship. So you struggle then, but then you reap the benefits afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I loved university, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I don't regret my decision to go into university, but it was definitely when I came out of it, I think you have to go through a very similar process.
Yeah.
It's slightly, by defaulting to that university, the easy route, effectively, I think it kind of kicked that can down the road, because then you get into your final year of uni and you're still sat with the same application forms. It's just now I'm 4 years later.
Yeah.
And spent in the region of £63,000.
Oh God.
So yeah, I think it's definitely not the easy route.
No, definitely not.
Have you got any tips? How did you
Yeah.
How did you get that really efficient? Seven applications that's good going. How did you manage to put that together?
I think my one, I would say, is consistent research. So it wasn't just I sat down one weekend and looked at all the companies that were hiring. I was constantly doing that every few weeks. I'd go on the government website. There's a website called Not Going to Uni. There's so many websites that post apprenticeship applications, and LinkedIn as well.
Yeah.
I didn't have LinkedIn at the time, but I can see now that there's a lot of job postings there. So consistent research, but also just be yourself in the interviews. Like, I would say to be authentic, because you can be great you can have the best grades and stuff, but doing an apprenticeship isn't about the grades, because you have to work alongside university. So it's more than just getting the grades. It's about having the discipline to do the work and studying at the same time, and working with different situations at work, and dealing with difficulties both at work and at university, and juggling everything at the same time. I guess I would say to be consistent in both research and sort of your motivation, because your motivation will dip when you get a rejection, and sometimes you just won't hear back from them. Yeah, I would say to be consistent with your research and your applications, but also just be yourself when you do get an interview, because there's just so much more than just grades that you can offer as an apprentice. And I think that's what most companies are looking for. They're not just looking for straight A's. They're looking for your drive and your enthusiasm and your proactiveness.
Yeah, I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of people in this country with fabulous grades, right?
Yeah.
Who leave school every year. Like, we need people who are dynamic. We need people who are really looking for that career experience, who want to contribute by doing things like these podcasts, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm looking for when I ever interview people.
Yeah.
I guess I think a big barrier for a lot of students is talking to family about apprenticeships.
Yeah.
I know my mum pulled a face when I talked about them. Like, how was your family when you were talking about apprenticeships? How did you kind of bring that up? How did you build that conversation?
Yeah, so my parents weren't on board at the start. And that's mainly due to the stigma around apprenticeships. Like I mentioned before, growing up, apprenticeships were always sort of presented as the second option. University was always the main route and the best route to go down. So I didn't know anyone who was doing an apprenticeship. I didn't know anyone in the industry. Neither did my parents. So when I told them, I want to do an apprenticeship, they got a bit scared. They're like, oh, how are you going to...
Yeah, what do you mean?
Yeah, what are you going to do? Because for them, apprentices were just people who do the coffee run or something. Yeah. And
Have you ever been asked to do the coffee run?
No, I'm not. So I told my parents, I was like, no, it's like this great way to get into the industry. I can learn and earn at the same time, and I go to work and I study at the same time. And they sort of started to understand more about apprenticeships, and they were actually sort of encouraging me to pursue an apprenticeship, and they sort of realised that for me the apprenticeship route was better than just going to university, and now they're completely happy with it. So, yeah.
No, that's really nice to hear. Because I mean, I think it's really important to note that they're not, you're on a degree apprenticeship. They're not entirely separate entities. No. It's not apprenticeship or university. You're doing both at the same time. You can apply for both at the same time.
Yeah.
And you don't have to sort of make those decisions. And at the end of the day, if you don't like either or, you can always swap if you need to. I don't think there's not this massive cliff edge decision where you're deciding, I'm going to do this for the rest of my career.
Yeah.
But,
you can always change. Yeah.
And obviously with the career experience that you're going to get and are getting whilst you're learning, you're obviously going to be much more versatile than a brand new graduate when you are looking for new jobs, new roles. When you move into that space, you're going to have the experience to say, I like this, I don't like this, so I'm going to pursue something else.
Yeah.
Instead of leaving uni with 4 years of debt and fabulous knowledge, but not that much practical experience on what you actually like. Yeah. And that's a big thing that I'm going through at the moment is I don't know what I want to do. I'm a bit overwhelmed because I enjoy the job I do at the moment, but maybe I'd like something else.
Yeah.
Because I don't have that experience. So let's go back to you've decided you're going to do an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Your parents are pretty much on board.
Yeah.
How did you decide a career route? Why did you decide you wanted to kind of go into civil engineering?
So I always really liked art growing up, sort of creating things and making buildings and stuff. And the school that I went to was an all-girls school. So there was a lot of STEM workshops that we had to get girls into STEM. And I think through those workshops, I knew that I wanted a career in engineering. I just didn't know what kind. There's so many. And even while I was in sixth form, it was between civil, aerospace and mechanical. I just didn't know which one to do.
Yeah.
But then I realised that I really like design work and actually working with buildings, because I'd walk around like airports and stuff and you're like, wow, you're in awe of how these buildings are just standing up.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that was what sort of confirmed to me that I wanted to do civil, because I just loved, I guess, the architecture part of it as well. But I knew I wanted to do some sort of engineering, and then civil for me was the best sort of route, because I did some bite-sized work experience, like virtual work experiences as well. And for me, the civil one was, I would say, the best.
The most interesting. Well, I would say that. But yeah. I mean, for those that don't know, civil engineering is engineering of the built environment. So it's actually a really, really broad engineering discipline.
Very.
Because I'm a civil engineer. I work in utilities and you work in structures.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what does that entail in your sort of day-to-day life? Like,
yeah. So we work with mainly supporting buildings. So it's not more like, I'm going to build it like this, where sort of like, okay, they want it to be built like this. How are we going to actually keep it up? So it's like that.
Yeah. Avoiding geotechnical.
Yeah.
Okay. I have one more topic that I wanted to talk about. And that was kind of that transition into working life.
Yeah.
So you've not had that free trial period of university.
Yeah.
You're going straight from A-levels to I have a job now and customers and deliverables to put out. Yeah. How did you manage that? Did you find it hard? Was it easy?
Yeah. I wouldn't say it was difficult. It was different. Yeah. So it was that sort of, because it was so different to going to sixth form, because sixth form, everyone's the same age as you. You're pretty much doing the same thing. But that transition from sixth form to like working in an office, completely different. And the sort of responsibility that you have, because in sixth form or colleges, whatever, you're sort of, your teachers are in charge of you. And you're like, oh, you need to be here at this time. You need to be, you go home at this time. But when you're working, it's completely, you're a lot more in control of your time. And that does come with its own set of responsibilities. Like you need to make sure something's done. Like someone's not going to come to you with a piece of work and be like, okay, you have 2 hours to do this. They're sort of going to give you a bit of a time frame, but you have to make sure that that's done. Like, and you don't get homework, you're not like, oh, you're going to get detention now, you've not done it. But yeah, I think that transition, having more responsibility over my time, was definitely something that I am a lot better at now than I was back in sixth form.
It's a really big learning curve. I think for a lot of people, it's like, I mean, what I love about it is like it gets to 5 o'clock and my workday ends.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have to think about it when I'm at home the same way that I did about homework or university work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you don't produce something, then your supervisor's going to pull an angry face at you.
So yeah, the transition was definitely different. I think it took about like a month or so for me to finally get used to it, but also like coming back to work and stuff after the weekend. Because in sixth form, you're like, oh, I'm looking forward to summer holidays. And like when you're working, you don't really have that. And all of my friends went to university. So they would have like odd days off from university and they would text on the group chat like, oh, we're going out. And I'm like, I can't, I'm at work.
Oh, great. Yeah. Thank you for telling me. That's just what I wanted to know.
Yeah, like I think the transition was definitely different. I wouldn't say it was too difficult. It's just adjusting to the responsibility, I would say, was the hardest part. But again, like you develop those skills and you carry them on to different parts of your life as well. You become a lot more disciplined in other areas, so I would say. Yeah.
I mean, and you're not just left to your own devices, are you?
No.
You're not just pushed out to the wolves.
Yeah.
There's a
lot of support.
There's a lot of support. But if you've got a decent company, there's a lot of support.
Yeah.
To help you manage that transition, because a lot of employers are aware that, you know, a lot of young people haven't actually had a job before they go into apprenticeships, and that's fine.
Yeah.
As long as you've got the work ethic and you're willing to work hard, which obviously you demonstrated with your 7 applications to different apprenticeship schemes. So I guess the last bit to cover is like, what's next? What do you see in the next 5 years with your apprenticeship?
I think because the civil engineering industry is so vast and there's so many different sort of sectors that you could go into within it, what I want to do over the next 4 or 5 years is get as much experience in almost all of those sectors, because I'm on structures right now, but we've done some work with the geotechnical team and I found that really interesting as well. So for me, I think I just want to gather as much experience, industry experience as possible within all disciplines, and use that to sort of work towards completing my EPA, which is my endpoint assessment, which I need to complete my apprenticeship as the admin side.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the main thing is I just want to get as much experience as possible and work on like so many different types of projects rather than just being on like foundation work for the rest of rest of my apprenticeship. But yeah, I think my thing is just doing a bit of everything.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a really good aim, to be honest, because you'll become a really well-rounded engineer and be able to do whatever you want. I mean, and you brought up the endpoint assessment there, which is obviously, I mean, that's also a really important fact about apprenticeships, degree apprenticeships anyway, is that I think you'll leave you'll finish your university section as an incorporated engineer, pretty much, as long as you've done the paperwork properly. But obviously I finished my master's degree and I've got another 4-5 years until I become a chartered engineer, which obviously comes with a decent pay bump when that happens. But you're going to leave as an assistant engineer probably, and be ready to lead your own projects and take on that engineering responsibility, which I think is a massive advantage. And you'll be ahead of other graduates who haven't done an apprenticeship.
Yeah, I think the industry experience is just unmatched. Like, you can't get that elsewhere. Like, at university, you're sort of taught the textbook version of everything. But at work, you can actually apply those skills. And even if you do want to leave the industry, you can use the skills that you obtained from your apprenticeship to allow you to enter another industry if you so wish. But
no, I mean, other skills are obviously transferable.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, the engineering is the breadth is so wide. I don't know why you'd ever want to leave. You can do whatever you want. Well, thanks so much for sharing your story. It's been great to have you on board, and we look forward to seeing you grow in your career. We're delighted to produce this Connected Careers podcast in partnership with York and North Yorkshire Combined Authority. As part of the authority's Cornerstone Employer Group, we're working to promote careers and education for young people, including those transitioning into further and higher education, employment, or training. At SYSTRA, we're building careers for life as well as the infrastructure for the future, and we're looking to support those who want to make a difference. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you.